Unit 8200 is this shadowy cyber unit that is responsible for direct surveillance as well as creation of many of the fatal algorithmic AI targeting platforms that we're seeing unleashed in Gaza right now. They're often compared to the NSA within the US context. Thinking, for example, about how many veterans of 8200 are entrenched in the tech industry. And this is something that's also cynically used often as a branding ploy by big tech, right? I was just looking at DropSite News, for example. You see about 250 veterans in Microsoft. And then, of course, you have in other multinational companies, NVIDIA, Meta, Google, Intel, Apple, and which often actively continue to employ veterans of that unit on the boards of these companies like Meta. You have people with direct who are Israeli, right? And so this is also an important thing to think through, because I relate this to thinking about the question of the lobby, right? There is a lot of Israeli entrenchment in various capacities within big tech, but I also think this is why I like to emphasize the question of collusion and collaboration. I think we can go down the rabbit hole of mapping all of these connections, and they are important to map, but we also need to be aware that this is a direct result of a choice that is made. These companies don't need to partner in the ways that they do. They don't need to go to one of the most elite repression units of a colonial government in order to bolster their products. They choose to do this because it's the best for their bottom line, and because they know, or they believe, that maximal profits have no connection to the preservation of human rights. I do think there's a lot of material connection, and this is directly tied to profit. This explains why the companies orient themselves often in the way that they do, where Zionism is taken for granted, whereas Palestinian humanity is controversial, is something that is terrifying to them. And they create this cultural interaction and experience that really internalizes that, so that what started as the advantage to these platforms being the exception to corporate media, they're recreating the internalized biases of corporate media and operationalizing that as practice. There's nothing inevitable about this. There's nothing duplicitous or deceptive in terms of them being deceived. They know what they are doing, and they're doing it to us, and they are doing it willingly.